Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, that guy he was talking about, your host, and a man who never ever learned to read or write so well, but can play the guitar just like he's ringing a bell. Go, go, go. And with me today is our studio engineer who makes it all come together and seem like an actual broadcast. Paul B. How's it going, Paul?
Pretty good. I can ring a bell or two as well.
Yeah, you can. Man, that's terrible about Chuck Berry, but
yeah.
He hails from my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, and I think everybody that plays rock and roll music, we certainly owe a huge debt of thanks to the folks that blazed the trail like Mr. Berry.
For sure.
Do you know how to play Johnny Be Good, by the way? Can you do it?
More or less. I've never actually sat down with it and, picked it out. So I kind of just, do it by the seat of my pants. I don't know if everything I'm playing is accurate, but it's close enough where you'll tell what I'm trying to do.
We're going to do that song this weekend. And I talked to my guitar player, Chris, and I said, do you know it? And he goes, oh, yeah, I've seen Back to the Future lots of times. How hard could it be?
That's all you need.
Exactly. He does the Marty McFly version of the Chuck Berry version.
With the finger tapping and dropping to your knees and everything.
Exactly. I can't wait for the solo, personally. I'm really excited to see what happens during the solo. It's going to be fun. And, I used to play it a long time ago, and it has the little drops, it has that twice in the solo itself. And most bands, if you have people dancing, it like interrupts the song like twice.
Oh.
Aside from that at the beginning. So I remember we always used to argue about, whether we were going to do the drops in the solo and stuff, because it just created a bit of a break in the action. So, and of course, my band have not had the foresight to discuss it yet. So it's going to be one of those things we decide on the fly
on stage. That's the best.
Exactly.
That's the best time to try things out.
It's the lab, baby. It's the lab. We're like, hey, you know what? We're doing this song as a tribute to Chuck Berry. We've not done it before. Let's see how it comes together.
Well, good luck with that.
Fun. Well, thank you very much. If you guys have a question for me out there in radio podcasting land, you can always email me at scott@robertsoncom.com, 2 M's, and I will answer anything on the show, as I've done previously. You can also find my posts, my client news clips, all kinds of tidbits, things I find interesting, announcements about when this show is going live, things like that on the RobertsonCom Facebook page and also on Twitter at RobertsonCom. It's all connected like a family. Reach out and connect, and hopefully you'll be entertained, and I can give you some cool tips. This is episode 46. If you missed the previous 45, you can get them on demand, lots of places, on the Entertalk Radio website, on iTunes, things like that. And they are super free and super awesome. So enjoy, go get them, and see what you think. And email me and let me know what you think also, because I'm always interested in other folks' opinions. It's, one man's opinion in marketing too. So, there's lots of ways to do things in marketing, which makes it so cool, actually. But this episode, 46, we're going to talk about, I call it insert content here. And we're going to talk about content marketing, which we've talked around a little bit on previous episodes of the show, but I don't think we've ever really, delved into content marketing itself. We've talked about it as a strategy and those kind of things, but this whole episode's about content marketing. By the way, has there ever been a less exciting word to describe your company's awesome message than content? It's a terrible word. It has no emotional attachment at all. You're like, content, that could be anything. But I want to tell you that, the Avengers was content. Lady Gaga's halftime show, that awesome halftime show, also the time when she played with Metallica at the Grammys, that is content. Every single NFL game, They even count the ones from the Rams, even though they're so awful. And they should just call it. This is what an exhibition of punting looks like. The Rams, best punting football team in the National Football League. But every NFL game is also content. So even though the word is not exciting at all, the things that fall under the word can be extremely exciting. Many marketers use this golden opportunity to produce, educational, entertaining things, content. They use it to talk all about themselves and pretty much kind of urinate on the embers of any type of growing brand relationship. It does not have to go that way. On this episode, we're going to talk about how to make your brand's content stand apart and really rock in a sea of awfulness. And of course, we're also going to come back and talk about who's winning and losing this week in marketing. We're going to just make sure that we are content with our content. Fun stuff. And as I always like to do in the first segment, I like to do a little bit of definitions and stuff. So make sure we're all sort of on the same page as we get started. So let's do that. Let's talk about what a kind of an acceptable definition of content marketing is going to be. Now, content marketing is a type of marketing that involves the creation and sharing of online material, such as videos, blogs, social media posts, that does not explicitly promote a brand, but is intended to stimulate interest in its products or services. Some people will say social media is a very, important, significant, integral part of content marketing, and I think that is certainly true. To me, I think it's the core of any marketing. The first thing I want to talk about is the idea of attraction versus interruption. When marketing first started, the way that you got people to pay attention to your message was you dropped in a nice interruption between the stuff that they wanted to do. And it's still done today. They're called commercials. We have them on the show. We have them everywhere, interruption, that kind of thing. But interruption can have there's some downsides to interruption. First of all, you're building a brand relationship. And if people, like, for example, you're going to a YouTube video and maybe you don't subscribe to YouTube Red, you have to sit through somebody's ad before you get to the video that you want to get to. Now, from the marketer's perspective, during the 30 seconds when I'm waiting to watch my video and you're blocking me, I don't have the most positive feeling about you. And the idea of your content at the end of the day is going to be to get me to feel positively about you, so it's like, why would you do that? Why? And some companies do we're going to talk about some creative approaches about doing that. But I am a big fan, and talk about a lot on this show, of attraction marketing. I do believe that is the way. That's why I'm such a big fan of public relations. I think people naturally seek out, news stories. We believe the media, and working with the media to help tell a client's story I found to be, one of the most, credible and authentic ways to get the word out. And that's all in the bucket that sort of is in the attraction bucket. Now, not to say that interruption, much of advertising is interruption. And interruption does kind of have its place. It can be a supporting mechanism. We did a whole show on paid advertising and what advertising's role is in the sort of the modern marketing mix. And as I said, from company to company, this stuff will vary, based on, what is working, what is acceptable, what, works within the context of the brand. There's a lot of things like that. But it's very important when you're talking about content marketing that you understand that your goal of content marketing is going to be about attraction. You are trying to, attract and retain a clearly defined audience. Now, those words are really important. The clearly defined audience part is really important. And some people say, well, Scott, isn't that just basic marketing? Yeah, you'd be surprised, is what I say. Yes, it is. Yes, it's in the textbook, and that sort of thing. Yet I can point to many, many, far too many examples of content where you don't know who in the hell this is for. You don't know who this is supposed to be for. And then you're like, well, is this for me? Maybe this is for me. I don't know. And then you start asking those kind of questions. I ask those kind of questions all the time. So that clearly defined audience piece sort of needs to come first, because a lot of people want to jump into content marketing without a marketing plan. That is not a good idea. That is not a good idea. It's going to be, very difficult for you to be successful if you don't know what you're doing, who it's for, why they should care on an ongoing basis. What you're doing, who it's for, why they should care. At the very least, you should be able to answer those questions. By the way, bands, same thing. Same thing for bands. You could say that a band's, song catalog is its content, right? So you got to know who's your audience. Is this for college students? Is this for baby boomers? Are you going for a nostalgic kind of thing? Depending on your age, are you going for, a sound that's more reminiscent of, a bygone age that makes people think of their teenage years that are baby boomers now? I mean, what are you trying to do? What is your, clearly defined audience? Very, very important. It's used by a lot of leading brands. It is used by folks like Procter & Gamble, who invented branding, as we've talked about many times, Microsoft, Cisco, John Deere. It's also executed by small businesses and, and little companies and mid-sized businesses all around the world. Why? Because it works. It can level that playing field. You can create great, interesting content, and it doesn't have to be, an ad, during the Super Bowl. You don't have to have that kind of budget. That's really, really important. John Deere does some really interesting things. John Deere, has to talk about farm equipment and tractors, right? I think they have some very creative stuff out there about how they, how they connect with their audience, folks that are going to buy and use, farm equipment and tractors and those kind of things. So, check out their stuff if you get a chance. Go in and look at some of their content marketing. It's definitely worth checking it out. The content marketing, a lot of people call it the future of marketing. They call it the future. I would call it definitely the present. It certainly could become the future. It's really hard. It's really hard to pin pin the tail on the future, right? Because it's always in flux. There's always crazy stuff going on in marketing. There's always, new trends and new things. I would definitely say, like I said, I would agree that it's the present. I'm not completely sure it's going to be the future. One of the reasons I am a little bit sort of, not so excited about it being the future is the fact that so many companies are jumping on the bandwagon going, oh, content marketing. And there's so much garbage out there that is just a sales pitch, right? In fact, in a recent issue of CMO, Chief Marketing Officer magazine, Joe Pelusi, who's a very well-known guy, and especially around content marketing, basically talks about the fact that 90% of content created in mid and large-size enterprises is about the company. And despite the explosion of new and different channels, customers can ignore you at will, and they are. 90% of content, he puts a target on it and says, is created in mid and large size enterprises is about the company. That's not content marketing. That's just you talking about yourself. That's you going, look, I have a belly button, and isn't it awesome? And let's examine it together. And isn't my belly button fantastic? And all these kind of things. And it's like, people don't care about you and your stuff. I mean, make a bumper sticker, make yourself a t-shirt. People care about what, class? They care about themselves. And then the list stops immediately after that with a big old period. They care about themselves. And that's it. Okay? So if you have a piece of content that says, we do all this, you can assume that is going to be ignored. How do you get people to, how do we attract people with content, right? Make it about them. Make it about them. Educate them. Entertain them. Give them something useful. That's what we're into. We're into what we're into, and we're not into you. We're into us, right? It's the easiest thing in the world, and yet, my God, it's the hardest thing in the world. I mean, like I said, I talk about this when I'm not on the show. I talk about this literally every day. Literally every day, I'm always saying the sentence. It's just, I mean, if you follow me around, you would hear me say the sentence, right, but how's this about them? How do we make this about them? How do we make this about the audience? What's the audience feeling? What this kind of thing? You know, and you would be stunned at how many times I'm the only guy in the room that's saying that. Okay? That's a problem. Marketers out there, first and foremost, it's got to be about them. It's got to be about them, right? Very, very important. And if 90% of it right now is about you, you know, and the companies that are creating it, it's being ignored and it is garbage that is completely worthless. It's worthless to the person creating it. It's worthless to the person reading it. In other words, it is completely and totally without merit, without worth. It is awful. Stop it. That's what I would say. So a couple things that Pelusi says that I thought were really good. He talks about finding your sweet spot, you know, and especially if you're a professional services business, are you an authority and you can communicate knowledge to your audience? What pain points can you help your customers with? Like, let's say you tuned into this podcast, for example. This is content marketing at its finest right here. I'm showing you that I know about content marketing, not because it's a bullet on my website, but because I'm demonstrating the fact that I know it's supposed to be about the audience. Yes, all right. Run the applause track right now, ladies and gentlemen. All the stuff I produce for my clients is about the audience first. And you can take it to the bank and you can bet on it because that's the stuff that works, you know? And I'm stunned. I'm blown away. I cannot believe the stuff that I see from big companies that is completely devoid of empathy from the audience. So we got to change that, marketers. We got to change that. And it's easy to change. It's much easier to be about them. It's actually, you know, I find it to be much more comfortable, to be honest. So, you know, that's what we're talking about here today. We're talking about attraction. We're talking about content marketing, and, you know, we're going to go over a couple of examples. I'm going to give you some tips. We're going to dig into all this kind of stuff. You know, I absolutely think that this stuff can and should be better. And, it's up to all of us that produce it, that have the responsibility of producing this, you know, on behalf of our clients and our companies out there to do a better job. To simply do a better job. It's certainly not over, but, you know, we need to do a better job for our audiences out there. We're talking about content marketing on today's May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I'm Scott. We'll see you in a few minutes. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing. Thanks.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, it's Friday, and you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I'm still Scott. We're talking about content marketing, and we're about to get into who's winning and losing. But Paul, what's your favorite content that's winning you over for brands this week?
For this week?
Yeah, what do you like?
I don't know. I've been too much in the. We've been making our own content more than consuming anything else.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. My guitar show is doing pretty well. The Sharpen the Axe. We every week we bring on different companies and review pedals and guitars and amps.
Love it.
Yesterday was pretty good when we did Ernie Ball that released a couple of new gorgeous guitars and killer pedals. I was pretty excited. It's just sad every time, my co-host Eric Lucero brings it into our studio and we play with his stuff for an hour and then he has to take it all back, and it just makes me sad.
That is sad. Now, do you have to work with the PR folks from these different brands when you bring them in?
Sometimes. For these, a lot of it's just stuff that Pitbull Audio carries. But a lot of times we work with the companies, like we've been doing clinics with them. We've been doing Facebook Live streams of clinics when they'll bring a player in to demo the gear. So, yeah, for sure.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, cool. Let's dig into who's winning and losing. Paul always likes this segment. Let's, if you have to study, we have to study climate change, right? And the first thing I want to put in the winning category is there's a new hero out that is studying climate change for us. Ladies and gentlemen, Bodie McBoatface is doing his first Antarctic expedition to study the effects of the warming waters of the oceans on our world. And there's no better hero than the internet named auto sub that's now called officially Bodie McBoatface. If you're not familiar with the story, the British Antarctic Authority asked the internet to name one of its new boats, and of course, you never. Just as a marketing tip for you kids out there, you never want to ask the internet to name anything. That's always going to go south. It's always going to go it's going to go to a place where you don't want it to go. And one of the funniest names out there was Bodie McBoatface for the ship. They didn't call the ship Bodie McBoatface, but they did name this little auto sub Bodie McBoatface. And now Bodie is going to be responsible for finding out what's going on with climate change in our world. So soon we will sing songs. Children will hold hands and sing songs about Bodie McBoatface. And you owe it all to the internet for naming it that for some ungodly reason. But we're going to put that in winning because it entertained me, to be honest. YouTube. YouTube has launched Uptime, which is an experimental app for watching videos with friends. Interesting. I'm going to put it in winning for now, I would say. But basically, they're kind of trying to turn watching YouTube videos into a more social experience, right? So they've launched this thing called Uptime, which is an app that lets you watch the videos together with your friends. Right now, it's just on iOS, but it'll probably be coming out for Android, I'm sure. It has reaction features that are inspired by live streaming services like Periscope and Facebook Live. So they're, when you're watching a video, your profile icon sort of floats across the screen and you can comment on the video. You can post an emoji like a smiley face or surprised or whatever if you're watching this YouTube video. And the reactions are displayed to anyone else who's watching the video, even if they're watching it at a later time. So your privacy is completely destroyed. No, I'm just kidding. So you can also tap the screen to leave, I love this, to leave sparkles on the video itself, So you spend all this time creating great content and then some idiot's going to leave sparkles on your video. But it's only shown to the people who you're watching with in real time, which is lovely. But we'll put it in winning because it's interesting, it's different, and it's certainly something that we definitely put in the, well, let's watch and see what this might turn into kind of thing. Let's talk about Twitter. Let's talk about Twitter, who's pondering a paid membership for its power users. You know, Twitter, as useful as it is, as much as it's used, as much as the President of the United States uses it as a legitimate communication channel and like sort of a window into his stream of consciousness, Twitter doesn't make any money. Does everybody know that? Does everybody know the fact that Twitter has really struggled to make any money always? Because, you know, how is Twitter gonna make money, right? You have to, you know, serve up ads in front of people, and people want those, and thus, you know, that's the sort of the balance. We talked about that interruption thing in the first segment, but now they're considering the introduction of a paid subscription package to offer its membership options, to, you know, basically to try to get a new revenue stream for the social media platform, which is kind of interesting. Really, in return for your monthly fee, businesses and sort of what they call tweetaholics would receive access to kind of a souped up version of TweetDeck. TweetDeck's like a dashboard where you can post and monitor and view. It's been around for a long time, but if you have this job and you post on Twitter for a number of different brands, it's useful to have a dashboard like that because you can easily switch between accounts. You can see what's going on, and it gives you a lot of that kind of dashboard functionality. This basically puts some high-end functions like alerts, trends, activity analysis, analytics, stuff like that. It puts it into one dashboard. So, you know, it looks like they're going to be charging us for TweetDeck, you know, coming up. But, you know, TweetDeck is very useful. It's much easier if you run a number of Twitter accounts. And I know a lot of people out there do, you know, for different businesses. Like in my case, I comment on several different Twitter accounts for my clients, run some for some of my clients. And so, you know, it's useful to be able to kind of, you know, move in and out of different accounts without having to, you know, always log in and remember the passwords and do all that business, which can really slow you down. So anyway, paid membership for power users. It's coming soon from Twitter. I guess we'll put that in I guess it's losing if you want TweetDeck to be for free, but it's probably winning for Twitter because Twitter is a great service, but they need to make a profit. You know, you can't run a business, you can't employ people, you can't do stuff if you're not making money. You know, you need to, if you're in the marketing, you know, profession and you sit down and you go, what's the first question you ask? You know, what's my budget? Well, we're not making any money, so you have no budget. And you're like, well, then you have no marketing and the meeting's over. And, you know, who's going to buy, you know, who's going to leave the tip? You know, nobody has any money, so nobody can. Let's talk about commas. I know. You tune into the Made the Best Brand Win for exciting stuff like discussions of commas. I know you're excited. The humble Oxford comma, which is basically the last comma in a series. So if you say the vomit was red, green, and brown. Sorry for that sentence. I don't know why that came from. The commas would be, you know, after red, green, you know, and then comma and brown. Now, AP Style says, this is going to sound really geeky, I'm sorry, but I'm building up to something. So AP Style gets rid of the Oxford comma, right? It says you don't need the last comma in the series. And you have people like, you know, fighting over this in a huge way. But there was a lawsuit, and really the Oxford comma changed the court case completely. What basically a group of dairy drivers argued they deserved overtime pay for certain tasks they completed. The company said they didn't, and an appeals court sided with the drivers, saying the guidelines themselves were made too ambiguous by, you guessed it, the lack of an Oxford comma. The law says activities that do not merit overtime pay, you know, are this: the canning, comma, processing, comma, preserving, comma, freezing, comma, drying, comma, marketing, storing, and comma, packaging for shipment or distribution of, you know, lots of stuff, right? So because the comma was between storing and packing and that kind of thing, it created ambiguity that helped them sort of win the court case. And critics, of course, of the comma say it's cumbersome and you don't need it. And everybody who does AP Style, like in PR, would say, well, we don't do that kind of thing. But hey, commas matter. I mean, people, you know, won money based on whether this comma was included or not. And then, of course, everybody be real careful with their commas. But I'm going to put it in I put it in winning because the comma just never gets any news play. So it's kind of exciting for the comma, got to say. Next, let's talk about WebMD. WebMD has a kind of a cool idea. They want to map all the people who say they're experiencing cold and flu symptoms, right? So the basically millions of people with cold and flu symptoms turn to the internet for help. And because of that, a lot of the leads go to WebMD, which you never want to do because WebMD will make you think that you're dying, even if you like stub your toe. But, let's say you did anyway. So it is the number one online platform for health information and it draws 75 million unique visitors a month. I didn't know it was that big, by the way. And so let's say you're worried about how many people in your area might be sick with the cold and flu. Now WebMD has the cold and flu map. It maps a range of light blue to dark blue and shows the areas where the cold and flu are mild to severe. Right? So the map is now a popular feature at WebMD, according to the VP of Marketing Sciences. He says the company improves it regularly. He says the map helps our consumers better understand where there are more cold and flu symptoms compared to other geographic areas. And they try to modernize the look and feel, that kind of thing. But check this out. Here you go. It has another level to it. It has a marketing level. WebMD's corporate partner is Reckitt Benckiser, a UK-based health and hygiene colossus, which has Lysol and Mucinex in its branding. So Lysol disinfectant spray says right on the can it kills cold and flu viruses. And Mucinex, of course, is, it's got mucus right in there. So it's involved in some way. So check this out now. Geospecific, symptom-specific data on consumers sounds like a great way to target advertising. And that's exactly what Reckitt Benckiser does. They want to be there on the site, and then they want to target advertising to you if you're sick. So we are firmly in the area that I like to call, creepy. So you're using the map, you're typing in your cold and flu symptoms. It's serving you up advertising saying, well, you may or may not be sick kind of thing. It's a slippery slope, folks. It's a slippery slope where the data is being used. If you're the collection agent, if you're WebMD and you're this like unbiased encyclopedia of medicine, right? Then you need to be that. If you have ties to commercial entities that are going to be using the data to sell crap to people, then you need to disclose that in words that are much bigger than the WebMD logo, on the site, because that's creepy and weird and bad and violates a lot of stuff in ethics that are going on in terms of marketing. I know, marketers with ethics, who knew? I'm going to put that in losing. I'm going to put that in, that's a fantastic idea that where the people, it can be used for good. Odds are great. It's going to be used for evil. It's going to be used for evil, creepy marketing. And we don't need any more of that. We got enough evil, creepy marketers as it is. So I'm going to put that in no. And now everybody that has heard this story and heard this story in other media sources, you're not going to be as, forthcoming with your information. You're not going to say, well, maybe I am experiencing cold and flu symptoms, and that kind of thing. People are going to start looking for ways they can hide themselves from things because we don't want to be targeted. We don't want to be marketed to until we decide that we're darn good and ready to hear your message. And marketers need to accept that. You guys are needy and you're creepy, and you need to stop it. Stop it. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, WebMD, losing, and scary. Here's an interesting one that I found. The pen actually trumps the keyboard when it comes to learning. I thought this was good. This is good for the pen, right? According to 2 Norwegian University of Science and Technology students, they say using a pen triggers the brain in a way that makes it more ready to learn. Because there's all kinds of things to say, well, folks, learn how, if you're typing and you're writing, I've always heard that it's the same thing as when you're using a pen. But according to this neurological study, it says the pen triggers the brain in different ways. A really fascinating story. I encourage you to read the whole thing. I don't have time to get into the whole thing, but just to say the fact that there is a difference when it comes to writing stuff with a pen. My handwriting's terrible, by the way. Terrible. Good God. And I love to type because people can actually understand what I'm writing and saying, and it doesn't look like, it looks terrible. It looks like somebody that's, frantically trying to scratch out, a help note or something like that. It's terrible. So I try to use the keyboard as much as I can. But obviously, when you're learning and when you're, a kid, it's interesting data to know that, putting that pen or pencil between your hand, triggers the brain in a different way when it comes to learning. Very, very important. Speaking of Twitter, 2/3 of America's CFOs, chief financial officers, say that Donald Trump should stop it. His tweeting habit is really keeping investors on edge, and companies like Lockheed Martin have been learning the hard way how Donald Trump's 140-character messages affect stock prices. That's why 2/3 of U.S. corporate finance chief wish his 140-character tirades would just stop, according to a survey of over 350 of them by Duke University. A majority also think Trump should stay within prepared marks in public speeches. This is pretty fascinating, right? The president tweets a lot, about a lot of stuff that is, important policy, and a lot of it's just sort of anger that can be directed at different companies and stuff. Folks ask me all the time. They say, what would you advise Donald Trump? And I'm like, man, I don't know that my advice would be helpful, because he kind of exists in a bit of his own orbit in terms of the things that communications professionals would advise him to do, he wouldn't do, but he's extremely successful doing things his own way. So it's hard to argue, to be quite honest. But obviously, if he's tweeting about companies and their stock is tanking because of it, then certainly you would have to take that into consideration, I'd imagine. And last but not least, retail. Sears has substantial doubt in losing that it's going to stay in business, and so does Kmart. Retail is tough. Retail is tough for everybody. I think the days are gone where you can have these retailers and you can support these monster stores with all of these employees and all of these departments and all this kind of stuff, and have all this overhead and still be able to turn a profit. And I think that the folks that don't believe that, don't have any idea about how people shop today. And it's not just online. It's simply a matter. I don't think it's a matter of marketing. I don't think it's a matter of anything other than the fact that you have to sell a whole ton of stuff in order to support that massive amount of overhead. You're not selling that much stuff, right? So you've got to look at the footprint of those kind of things, and you got to look at how you're selling stuff and where your brand can be viable, and stop trying to be, the company that you were. That's very dangerous. That's who's winning and losing this week, and you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I'm going to come back. I'm going to give you some tips to make your content marketing not so awful. See you in a few.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday. You are back with May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott. We just did winning and losing. Paul, what did you like? What are you into this week?
Well, of course, Bodie McBoatface, and I think I was the first one that broke that story to you. In fact, I came across that on Reddit, and I was like, oh, I got to text Scott right now. This is too glorious.
Bodie
McBoatface getting some recognition. And the thing is adorable. It's like a little red submarine with wings. It's
yes,
it's awesome.
It's awesome. I agree with you. We need to write the Ballad of Bodie McBoatface so that children, so that they have the song to sing when Bodie becomes a hero.
It'll be a sea chanty.
A chanty.
Yeah.
If you will. I like that.
And then Twitter thing was interesting. I forgot. Did you put him in the winning column or losing?
I think we got to put him in the winning category. Well, Twitter itself doing the paid subscription. I think they have to. I think the bottom line, I mean, they got to make money. I mean, you can't run at a loss forever.
About it the right way, I would say, is if you're going to charge for something, charge for some, power user option that you're not obligated to use. If you're, you could just keep going on using it like you always have if you don't want to. But if this is something you could use, dish out the shekels. Yeah. I had a crazy idea. The other thing they could do is just start charging like a penny per character above 140. If you want to get crazy, they'll they could probably drain Trump's fortune in like a month.
Or it's like the swear jar at your house or whatever. Yeah. It's like every time Trump tweets and he's pissed off at somebody, it's the Trump anger Trump anger fee.
Well, imagine if Trump wasn't limited to 140 characters on Twitter and he had to pay like a penny a letter. He would go broke in a year, maybe less.
That man uses the caps lock far too much. The caps lock shouldn't be used that much. I'm saying that should be looked at. But anyway, that's pretty funny.
The caps lock is for beginning of sentences and for German nouns, and that's it.
Exactly. Too much fun. We're talking about content, and we're back talking. We're in segment 3. Segment 3, I always like to make sort of about y'all and talk about some tips to make your content marketing better. Before I get into that, though, I did want to give a couple of examples of content marketing that is kind of cool stuff out there that you want to check out. OkCupid was an interesting one. They created a dictionary for the modern dater. And it's pretty funny. It's basically a dating dictionary. And if you haven't seen it, they got a lot of news play off of it, and a lot of things, which is important. They're not the biggest player, obviously in the online romance scene, marketplace or what have you. But this was a really good example of content marketing that has been written about quite a bit. General Electric. General Electric has some pretty cool, they have a very cool little sci-fi podcast called The Message, which actually managed to get to the very top of the iTunes charts of podcasting. And it's really, really neat because they, it reminds me of like a Mythbusters kind of thing. It's not quite as cool as it doesn't have the budget that like Mythbusters has or anything, but it's kind of cool. It's like, they talk about how turbines work and just interesting stuff. If you're into like, science and particularly as it relates into sci-fi and that kind of stuff, it's neat to see, GE look at all of its businesses. And believe me, that's quite a bit of businesses there, and say, well, we actually can choose to do something interesting instead of something that's kind of, corporate-y and stupid and everybody's going to, blow right on past it. And the last one I want to mention is Denny's. And Denny's had a Facebook Live Q&A with the Pancake that was pretty funny. I mean, I have to say, it's basically a an interview with the Pancake is fascinating, and 11,000 people sort of watched it live, and they're watching like an interview with an animated pancake, But it's a lot of Denny's marketing over the past year was about, its new pancakes and all that kind of fun stuff. Obviously bringing the fight to IHOP and all that. But check out the Facebook Live, Q&A, with the pancake thing. That's pretty interesting. And I guess one more last one I want to mention is I'm a big fan of the movie Deadpool, but Deadpool's marketing was ridiculously creative. I mean, absolutely ridiculously creative. And the choices that they made were some of the most not safe, but incredibly funny, incredibly right on character, right on message, exactly what their audience, of the movie would want to see. Check out the infomercial they created for Empire Magazine doing a Deadpool issue. You can check that out. Check out Deadpool's Empire Magazine infomercial and see what I mean by that. The way that they marketed that movie was sort of it was completely different. It was basically just like up yours to all the way that a movie should be marketed. And I think there's just a lot of lessons in that, which is that you can, if you have guts and you decide to be a little bit different, you can really make a splash. You can really do, cool things with it. And a lot of that is, the star of the movie, Ryan Reynolds is really involved in the marketing. And the guy's got a fantastic marketing mind. I've heard him talk marketing before, and he will blow you off the back of your feet at how much he knows about marketing. And I think it's really, really cool. And, huge kudos for that entire campaign. I'm super excited to see the next movie and excited to see what they do with the marketing the next time around. Well, let's get back to you. It's all about you after all. And let's talk about your content marketing tips. Number 1, get your message right and go deep, really, to create a good storytelling palette. If I see one weakness in content marketing all over the place, it's the fact that, they don't have a strong message. They don't have a deep, emotionally resonating message that is about the audience, that kind of thing. And they don't understand what story that they're telling. With all of my clients, I create a thing called a message map. And it has a positioning statement. It has the key benefits that we're going to focus on, usually 3, because let's face it, the world has ADD, and they're not going to be able to pull out more than one benefit that your brand offers. But we do 3 just to make everybody feel good. And then the last thing it has is, it might have the slogan or the tagline or kind of the explanation of branding, those kind of things in it. But the last section of it is always, I call storytelling topics. And that's all about creating a palette for what your story is. I have a client in the healthcare benefit space, and they basically, we kind of set them up to where, they protect small businesses from the evils of the employee benefits and healthcare insurance world. And you might say, wow, Scott, that's really boring. Yes, it is. But we make the choice to talk about their brand in the idea that they are superheroes that save businesses from evil. And that opens up a vast, universe of stuff for us to talk about that ties into pop culture. Other benefits companies are talking about, forms that you need to fill out and this new plan and this new, you're passing out already, right? And we talk about Iron Man and the Hulk and Wolverine, and we talk about things that are interesting to people. How do you know they're interesting? Because there's a lot of zeros after the movie titles that launch in the United States of America, right? If you follow the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that we've invested into superhero pop culture, you might come up with the conclusion that it's a popular thing and that people like to engage around narratives that are told this way. So tip number 1, get your message right. Make sure you get you've really thought about it from the audience's perspective, and you've got a good storytelling palette. You know the different stories that you're going to be able to tell. What stories can we play in? What can we comment on? Where are we going to be an authority? And that kind of thing. And then that gives you the ability to do stuff that's not all about you and isn't just garbage. Number 2, always seek to educate, entertain, and never, never, never sell. It is not about that. It is about, trying to create a relationship with people, let's put it in band terms. It's about getting people to follow your band, and it's not the time to go hey, would you like a hat? And would you like, would you like, wristbands and leg warmers that have the band's name on it? It's like that turns people off. People don't like to be sold. People don't like to be sold. And when they sense they're being sold by you, they're gone. They're gone with the capital Donald Trump, every letter capitalized, gone. So stop it. Educate, entertain. You can do it. I mean, if GE can make an interesting podcast, come on, folks. Everybody can. I mean, there isn't anything about GE that you would find interesting in any way, shape, or form, but check out the content that they choose to put out there. It's solid. It's well done. It's very well done. Number 3, experiment. Experiment with different types of content, for your brand. Is it going to be video? Maybe it's going to be a blog post. Maybe it's going to be a series of blog posts, short. We're not, don't write a book. Nobody reads books anymore. Nobody reads, period. So make sure that you are doing things, with fewer words that, have more impact. Is it going to be graphics? Is it going to be, a cool graphic that maybe they can share, that makes them look smart, that makes them look cool, that gives them information that they're armed with. So now they're able to go be, a samurai warrior at their job, that kind of thing, because that's what people are after. And as we have established many times in this program, people are really into themselves a lot. So if you can make it about them and help them do the things that they already want to do, then they'll probably take you along for the ride. Very, very important. And I can't say enough about the experiment. Whenever I talk about experiment and laboratories and things like that, people get nervous and they go, well, marketing's not an experiment. Marketing, works. We know it works. We have we're not spending money on experiment here. We're not spending. Yeah, you are. And allow me to address that head on. You are dealing with the human brain. You are dealing with human behavior. And if any of you awesome marketing scientists out there want to tell me that you have 100% predictability of what the human brain is going to do, let's have a conversation about that. I have about a stack full of neuroscience that proves you dead wrong. The human brain and our behavior is unpredictable. We are not always in touch with why we behave the way we do. There are lots of things about the human brain we'd yet to understand. And so to be out there and say that you have certainty that if you put out this ad, it's going to create this response, you're fooling yourself and everybody down the chain that's working with you. It's always an experiment. So if you know that, you're experimenting with different types of stuff. Maybe for your audience, video is going to work better. Short video is going to work better. Maybe it's, maybe it's going to be audio. Maybe it's going to be graphics. Maybe it's going to be something, completely different than all those kind of things. But make sure that you experiment because, you are out there trying to educate and entertain after all. Also, I'm a big fan of entertaining content. I think, we want to be entertained. We absolutely do. Whenever I speak someplace, I bring my guitar and I do a song. And people go, "Oh, that's cute." You do a song, and and that's nice, and it's just nice to do that. You know why I do it? Because are you ready for some neuroscience? When you hear music, your brain opens up, and you're about 85% more ready to learn stuff. And I'm getting ready to teach stuff, so it sort of works out, right? And it also puts people at ease. It puts people at ease, and I don't have to open with a joke or a celebrity impression, or I don't have to juggle or do anything else. If I can do my song kind of thing, I'm entertaining people, and they're already along for the ride, and they're going to be much more receptive to what I've got going on, what I'm going to say. So that's kind of why I do it. And plus, I like to entertain people. Life is short. I say have fun with it. Number 4. Make sure you're setting up solid measurement systems so you can prove your work. Make sure you're checking your work and you can prove it to other people. When you're doing stuff in content that is working, and you have to decide, what does working mean? Because, we're not going to put in, direct links to say, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, that kind of stuff. We're not going to do that, So what does work mean? Work means we're attracting a following, right? We've got people that like the sound of the band, and they'll follow us to the next town. And they'll follow us to the next town after that, and they'll follow and they'll follow us, right? We want people to follow the band. That's our plan, right? Follow us. Come see us instead of coming to see somebody else. Be attached to us instead of being attached to somebody else, right? That's the game. It's a long-term relationship game that we're in marketing here. And your measurement systems need to reflect that, reflect that. That's some of my problems with digital marketers, is that digital marketers seem to have all the data in the world, but no damn sense in their heads at all. And honestly, if you're young and you do marketing, that's great, but you should study the old stuff, because you should study why we do this stuff, why we actually try to do marketing, what it is designed to do. Because there's too many people out there who have the technical expertise to push a message, but don't have any sense about why they're doing it or what they're trying to do for the organization. And that strategic perspective is extraordinarily valuable when you're trying to actually run a business and do stuff. So set up your measurement systems, so that you can know what it is that you're trying to do and that you are measuring it, Very, very, very important. Especially when people come by and go, well, I hear good stuff about what you're doing. And they may not completely understand what it is that you're doing. And you want to be able to explain it. You want to be able to explain it internally across the organization. You want to be able to explain it to clients. You want to be able to explain it. This stuff is, a job and stuff. So make sure you do that. My last tip, don't be afraid of content marketing and have fun with it. Some of the best content things, out there are fun. If you're a B2B company and you're super serious, let that go. Let that go. That's not going to work with people. You're trying to interface with people, and you need to be, human about that whole thing. It's really, really important. I see some companies that get so caught up with being professional that they forget to actually communicate. Now, and I can show you a lot of examples, by the way, but, we don't have time for all that. Content. There's so much of it that is kind of sales-driven garbage, usually because the empathy for the audience is really absent, and content has kind of become the latest sort of mindless checkbox on somebody's to-do list in the marketing department. Just saying that you do content marketing isn't enough. Every interaction counts. You must earn your way into your audience's minds and their hearts every single time. The unsubscribe button is the first button on any email on an iOS that you're going to see. They can unsubscribe to you in a heartbeat, but you knew the job was difficult when you took it, Do not be content with poor content. Look at that. See what I did there? Do better, folks. We can do better. 95% of it being about yourself isn't good enough. Let's do better for you and for our profession. Thanks. That's it for me, marketing fans. Until next week, this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?